So Rome wasn't built in a day, and building an app does not happen overnight. So as you may know already, my app story began when I was working on We Can Change the World Day. And at that time, I was working with many, many youth, whether they were in the region or even whether they were international. And the youth I worked with were generally really bright, accomplished. And what really became noticeable for me was how much stress and anxiety they were having that I felt was even beyond, my kids who were just a few years ahead of them. And I know that period of time in our lives, when we're sort of transitioning from high school to university and so on, it's a very anxious, provoking time. I felt that the level of it was so high that I really wanted to do more. And I wasn't sure what to do. So I actually sat down with Brian Crew, and I laid everything out on the table with Brian. So I said to Brian, so I teach yoga classes and I see clients one-on-one with the work I do with Rubenfeld Synergy, and I'm running We Can Change the World Day. But it was when I mentioned to Brian that I had this idea that his eyes got like big and wide. So I think at that point we knew I was onto something. At that point, I had big dreams of bridging my holistic wellness world with the world of technology. And I could see it clearly, and Brian could see it clearly in a different way. But that I wanted people to be able to use an app where their tools and techniques were right at their fingertips. So to help calm stress and anxiety and anger and other emotions. So that conversation with Brian took place in August 2017. So here we are 3 years later. So would you like to know a little bit about what the journey was like? Okay. So I kind of titled this presentation, "So you think you want to build an app?" And it does all begin with an idea. And so I told you about what my idea was. And at first, the whole journey was fairly straightforward. So I met with Brian, and together we started to build a business plan, looked at potential financials, looked at a strategy, and then we took proposals from different developers, and Brian helped me find various developers. And at that point, we settled on a company in Newmarket called Tree Frog, because what Tree Frog had was the ability to do brand marketing, develop the app, as well as marketing and building our marketing strategy. On the other side of things, where I really needed to work, was the building that team, in a sense. It's like, who can I have at a minimum to help? So I really needed someone who had some organizational experience and can keep a project going. And at first I had that. And then the other pieces of it were like all the legal stuff, like getting a business registered, so with the name was registered, but then trying to go to trademark and working with a trademarking lawyer to register the name or to trademark the name Reset Zone. And then finally, someone who could do social media so that they also could do it a little bit more pretty than I could. And so this seems very straightforward in the world of app development. And probably for the first several months or year working with Tree Frog, it felt very much sort of under control. We launched our first sort of beta version of the app that actually launched on the App Store and then on the Google Play Store in 2018. So it didn't take too long to build that. And myself and some of the members of my team we went to like every opportunity within York Region to be outside at booths, whether it was somebody's outdoor picnic event like our MP's event, whether it was counselors' events in the parks. We were there and we were talking to people, and we had almost 1,000 people just sign up on the app just from our personal contact. So then as time went along, this is what it started to look like. I didn't create this kind of linearly because it really is not a linear thing. It is very much like a Rubik's Cube with all these moving parts and turning parts. And if you feel like this slide is overwhelming, you can imagine what it's like inside my head. I'm going to point out some of the things on here that are in green, because it's the green things that are really what became important. And the ones that you might see a few things that say review and update, review and update, review and update. And so this type of business, as probably all businesses, you want to review and update it at least yearly so that you make sure that what you're doing is sort of the same direction that you've chosen to go. Our original direction and our original target group was for students in post-secondary schools, high schools, because that was my passion and that's where the idea had started. So other pieces that are really important here are when you look under developer, you can see that there's two words there, agile and hourly. What I've learned along the way is that an agile developer tells you what they're going to do and how much that's going to cost. And no matter how much time, energy, changes, feedback, back and forth you have to do, you know that that's what you're paying. An hourly developer, on the other hand, doesn't really give you that guidance. And oftentimes you bump up into a lot of technology issues based on what Apple, Google, Facebook, and so on are saying, this must be done, this must be changed, there's a policy change. And that can result in hourly costs in the range of 10, 20 hours, somewhere in the range of $150 to $200 an hour. So that is challenging. And if you were to consider doing an app, I would decide on which approach would be the best for you, depending on the type of app that you have. The other thing I have highlighted in green is the dollar signs. And building an app is costly. And ours in particular has quite a cost to it because of the moving parts. And in pink, you'll see two words, experts and users. Our experts that are currently on our app have certain qualifications, certifications, and they need to provide us with content that needs to be recorded, edited, uploaded, closed captioned, and then placed in a certain sequence into the app. There's a lot of steps. On the other side, the users are certainly very important, and a user is somebody who would download the app and sign up on the app, whether they are a free user or a paid user. So in the world of apps, and in going to have conversations with anybody about here's what we're doing, here's the kind of help we're looking for, one of the first questions is, how many users do you have? How many followers do you have on all your social media? And this becomes super, super important. And also where I'm going to ask for your help and support to follow our journey to help us with those numbers. And then we had actually launched our new app. So we had a new version of the app that was very pretty, much more content. We launched it finally after about about 3 months delay. on March 6th of this year. We all know what happened then. So what do you do during a pandemic? Keep in mind, I mentioned that our users at the time and where we were targeting was generally university students. We had youth ambassadors on the ground. They were out doing booths at the various schools. Now, all of a sudden, university students went home. That ended. And our ability to target those students also was at risk. And so what did we do during the pandemic? We stopped, we reviewed, and we've been working on our pivot. So we stopped marketing to the general public, although I'm still doing some talks, and we're still working on creating that new strategy, which is leading us in a different and I think really important direction. We also have at this point switched over to an agile developer, and behind the scenes we're developing a whole new app. It's going to look entirely different, and we will be able to tell you more and launch more of the story soon so that you can see what is going on behind the scenes. So for those of you who don't have apps and haven't downloaded the app, currently the Reset Zone app looks like this, and it is meant to reduce the impact of your emotions with 1-minute video tools. And the experts on our app are local currently in York Region and Toronto, and have a range of qualifications in things like yoga, breathing techniques, sound healing, Qigong, and anything that can help you in the moment. That's one of our experts, Jyothi. She's the newest and latest expert on our app, and she brings for us a whole range of expertise. And so if you go on the app, you'll be able to see Jyothi and her new tools. What you can do at the moment, if you are on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, is follow Reset Zone, and I will send these links to Marge. Or if you want, take a screenshot so that you can follow us, because remember what I said about numbers. The numbers are really important. And of course, I don't think of you as numbers. I think of you as friends. And so as a friend, if you can follow, that would be fantastic. And then join our newsletter. And it is our newsletter that will help us tell you all of our new news and explain our stories. And again, I will send this link out to you, Marge, to be able to pass this on. If you like apps, if you have that ability and you haven't already, you can download the free app, Reset Zone, on the App Store or the Google Play Store. And here I'm going to leave you with these final words. 3 things that you would need if you want to build an app. Number 1 is patience. Number 2 is resilience. And number 3 is a really good seatbelt so that you can buckle up for the ride.